Hi folks, this is Colby Valenza with Valenza Capital Management, and this is the September 2017 video market update. Please stay tuned till the end. We've got some disclosures that we need to read aloud to keep our regulators and our attorneys happy. All right, we are 3/4 of the way through 2017, and when we look at the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ, specifically in terms of third quarter performance, we've seen that all three of those indexes are up at least 3.9%. And when we shift our view to year-to-date numbers, we can see that the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ are all up at least 9% year-to-date. So that's some strong performance numbers for the year, but we also want to look at the fact that we've seen some record highs as well. Specifically, when you look at the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, they both set record highs on the last trade day of the third quarter, which was September 29th. And when you really drill down into the NASDAQ, we've seen 50 all-time record highs in 2017 alone. Now, the Dow Jones did not set a record high. However, it did finish 0.1% away from setting a record high. So we've seen strong performance in all three indexes. So we also want to look at more of a long-term gaze at performance. When you look at the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones, they both have had 8 straight quarters worth of growth. And when you look at the NASDAQ's had 5 straight quarters worth of growth. So again, we're setting some record highs. We're seeing some short-term and longer-term performance. It's a good thing to see here. So between the recent weather disasters, the geopolitical situation, the American political situation, last month's and last quarter's positive result might surprise some people. People generally will assume that the market will react crazy when things like hurricanes are going on. However, rather than mirroring the volatility in the world, we've seen that the markets have actually performed relatively calm. Specifically, when you look at the S&P 500 and the month of September, that was the calmest September that index has had in its history. So we can see pretty calm here. So now let's take a look at what happened last month, what may be on the horizon for the last quarter of this year. So right before the end of September, we received the final reading for gross domestic product, or GDP, which is a critical measurement of our growth in our economy. And the data showed a 3.1% growth rate, which beat and surpassed some people's expectations. So this does indicate that the economy is growing a little bit better than some people would have thought it would be growing. Still, the economy does have areas to improve. When we look at retail sales and industrial production, those both fell this last quarter. And when we look at inflation rate, the Federal Reserve has set a target of 2%. However, we're still decently off that mark. Now, the Fed has also introduced the idea that they would like to raise interest rates 4 times by the end of 2018. Now, will they do that? Time really will tell, and there are various things that can impact that. For instance, if the inflation rate remains below 2%, they may or may not rethink that idea. Now, while that's still up in the air, one thing we know that is not up in the air in terms of a Fed decision is their decision to go ahead and trim their $4.5 trillion balance sheet. During the Great Recession, the Federal Reserve dumped trillions of dollars into our economy in an effort to really jumpstart it and get it growing again. And the Fed really now believes that our economy is in a place to where they can tighten that monetary policy going forward. So far, the markets haven't negatively reacted to the news that the Fed wants to begin to trim this balance sheet. However, most of that reduction will start to take place in October. So it really remains to be seen what the overall effect is going to be, but no, we always keep an eye on it. Looking ahead, there are many potential changes that could be on the horizon, things like tax reform, healthcare reform, etc. But we want you guys to know that we're always taking a look at what's going on, and we're studying diligently how that may or may not affect the markets overall. So should you ever find yourself questioning what's going on in the market, what's going on in the world, the economy as a whole, please give us a call. We're more than happy to chat with you guys. All right. This is Colby Valenza again with Valenza Capital Management. This is your September 2017 video market update. Thanks for taking a listen. And now we have our lovely disclosures. While we believe the information in this report is reliable, we cannot guarantee its accuracy. Opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and are not intended as investment advice or a solicitation for you to buy a specific security. Please consult your financial professional before you invest in any investment product. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No investment strategy can guarantee a profit or protect against loss in periods in a declining market. The indices mentioned are unmanaged and you cannot invest directly in them. Past performance does not indicate guaranteed future results. Thanks very much.